Industry 4.0 is the buzzword in the world of manufacturing. What does it mean? How does one start the 4.0 journey and then derive maximum value from it? For answers, we have with us today Ravikiran Pothukuchi, Sales Director, Manufacturing and Logistics, Dassault Systèmes India. Good to have you with us, Ravi. So tell me, Ravi, what is the idea of Industry 4.0 and in its progress since till 2020, and what do you see now? Is it more hype, more substance? What does it look like?
Yeah, see, Industry 4.0, I think this word started in late middle of 2000s, 2004-5 timeframe, when it was coined in Germany by one of the forums where they thought that the fourth industrial revolution should look at more connected machines where we can leverage these new data techniques, new information systems, and make the factories more collaborative and more interactive and connected. Okay, that's the idea of Industry 4.0. And in doing so, it's not just that a fad that you want to do it. In doing so, they thought, and which is rightly so, that they can extract a lot of operational efficiencies, which is what probably I'll take you through in the next few minutes in the conversation. But coming to the very interesting question, that is it hype or substance? I think it is substance. In my view, it is substance. But the substance you see in developed countries versus developing emerging country like India, I think that's where it is varying. It is appearing more substance in developed countries where the I4.0 adoption is at a much rapid pace as compared to India, where its adoption is taking baby steps, and it just doesn't require the transformation on the digital space. It requires transformation at the cultural space, at the psychological space. There are a lot of transformations that the whole country has to undergo before we can call ourselves as Industry 4.0 adopted country. Just to give you some data points, Industry 4.0 globally has increased 10 times in the last decade. It has seen a 10x growth in the last decade globally, and that's a substantial number. I don't think, except data related industries, any other sector or any other industry has grown at that factor. Today, it is pegged at $100 billion US. And what the reports are saying, I have read some reports, both globally as well as the local Indian reports, they are pegging it at $200 billion by 2025. That means doubling in next 4 years, not even 4 years, hardly 3 years, because we have already are in the midway of 2022, right? And most of this growth, or whatever you're seeing, the numbers, the doubling the digits and all of that, is purely coming from the developed countries like Germany, China and US in terms of the Industry 4.0 adoption. India, I would still call it as a laggard in terms of the adoption. But that said, there are a lot of good steps that are taken. We are taking baby steps for sure. We are lagging behind as compared to our Asian neighbors, be it Korea, China, Japan, even Singapore. But that said, for a country like this, with a divergent, demographics and so many other cultures that are intertwined, right? Any initiative takes time. But there are a lot of good points, from the policy standpoint and from the initiative standpoint. The government has taken all the right measures, be it this self-reliant India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is focusing on localization of production, localization of sourcing, and also encouraging the MSMEs with production-linked incentives, PLIs. Right? These are all the policies that the Make in India, of course, all of these are under the bigger umbrella called Make in India, which is now reconfigured as Self-Reliant India or Atmanirbhar Bharat. So all these initiatives, and there is a lot of investment that are being pumped by government, which is a very, very right step that the government has taken to push the manufacturing. Of course, it's clear there is a clear goal defined by the the Ministry of Finance that manufacturing should contribute 25% of the GDP by 2025. Okay, which puts us as a 1 trillion economy from manufacturing alone. If you are becoming a 5 trillion economy by 2025, which is our ambition, and that's not an easier ambition to achieve. But I think so far we have been seeing a little plateaued growth in Industry 4.0 adoption. But what I see in next 4 years is going to be a hockey stick growth. And why do I say it? I think we got a bit of a COVID as a boon that has come in from the manufacturing adoption standpoint. Although it was a curse from the people and the impact it has had on the overall health and so many losses that we have seen. But from the digital technology adoption standpoint, it has given a kind of a hope that yes, digital technologies can also be adopted at a much faster rate than what it used to be. So it has given what used to be a nice to have things has become must have post COVID, and COVID enforced this kind of a change within the companies. So it is, in summary, it is not a hype, it is a substance, but a lot more to catch up. A lot of ground to catch up as far as Indian manufacturing scene is concerned.
So you mentioned that there has been a bit of plateauing when it comes to adoption of Industry 4.0. Why do you think that has happened?
See, plethora of reasons. Very good question, actually. One, most of our industries are predominantly bit older in terms of their equipment and machinery. Okay, and this is a highly capital intensive investments. Of late, putting that kind of investments to completely overhaul or reconfigure their entire factories and lines is something that's going to pinch a big hole on the pockets of organizations. So one of the concerns, if you take the entire public sector scene, most of the factories are 1950s and 60s with the machines that are very, very old. So it requires a lot of money, a lot of efforts in terms of reviving them and bringing them to current generation machines. That's one of the reasons. And another biggest reasons in Indian context, which is very, very India-centric problem, is that I think 70 to 80% of manufacturing in terms of contribution happens from MSMEs. Okay, while the OEMs have been at a much advanced stage in terms of adopting Industry 4.0, MSMEs are really struggling. Okay, they are adopting the traditional, as we call it, as jugaad innovation methods, but not Industry 4.0 techniques, and there is a reason for it. One, the investments or the money, the wherewithal to invest in these digital technologies is becoming very, very difficult. These are not cheap technologies; they're very, very costly technologies. But today we are seeing the network effects. We are seeing the bit of a commoditization in some of the spaces. So it is becoming more and more affordable. So that's the reason why I see MSMEs would be adopting these technologies in the next 2 to 3 years time frame. One. Two, even if you have the technologies, these companies are located in tier 2, tier 3 cities where to get the skill sets, to operate these technologies is not easy. That having the right skill set to operate these Industry 4.0 oriented technology and having that mindset in the leadership team, these are all some of the constraints. So as a whole, why Indian Industry 4.0 is not growing at a pace which we would have liked is because it is limited to certain sectors or certain industries. For example, you see it highly adopted in automotive industry, but not so highly in some other, like if I have to say, cement industries and all of that, right? So there are industries that are leading the curve of Industry 4.0 adoption, and at the same time there are industries which are very, very behind in terms of Industry 4.0 adoption. That is from the industry standpoint. And from the spectrum standpoint, OEM to tier 2, tier 3 MSMEs, while OEMs are at a relatively better place, the MSMEs do not have the wherewithal to invest in these high-end technologies. And then even within the OEMs, there are some OEMs who are advanced and some OEMs who are not so advanced only because of when they have been incepted. If they have older factories, it becomes a massive cost for them to overhaul complete factory to bring to the current Industry 4.0 standards. And these are the three reasons why Industry 4.0 in India has not grown till 2019. I think post-COVID, we are seeing a rapid adoption in terms of Industry 4.0.
Right. So post-COVID, we also hear a lot of chatter about reinventing manufacturing or reimagining manufacturing. How does that happen, especially in the context of what we are talking about?
Okay. First thing, when COVID broke out, the immediate impact was on the factories because they have to be shut. Okay. There are industries that can work from home, but factories cannot work from home. And they need people on the shop floor. And with the constraints that were employed by various governmental agencies, to run the factories was becoming difficult. Okay, and that's when they started looking at how they can leverage digital technologies. What is that they can do without being on the shop floor? Now, of course, you cannot. If it is a highly automated plant, you can run the plant by sitting somewhere else. But if it is semi-automated or manual plant, obviously you cannot achieve that kind of operational efficiencies. But that said, the factory people on the shop floor responsible people like operations heads and the factory heads have started to realize the value of digital technologies during the COVID pandemic. For example, when the workforce was allowed only 50%, right? The government relaxed and said that, okay, you cannot have 100% workforce, but you can operate with 50% workforce. How can I achieve my throughput even with 50% workforce? Earlier, you would have simply divided, okay, if I'm delivering X components in a day with X number of people, if I'm operating at 50%, it will be by 2. Okay, these are all the thumb rules that people are calculating. But to their surprise, by leveraging digital technologies, they realized that the reduction in the throughput, even though the reduction in the workforce is 50%, is not really 50%. They were able to deliver almost 2/3 of the targets. Okay, so these things were possible only because they were able to reconfigure, look at non-value added activities and how they can optimize that, how they can reduce those non-value added activities, and instead deploy the workforce to deliver these things, reschedule dynamically schedule some of the activities on the shop floor, and reconfigure their sourcing strategies. These measures were possible only because they were able to leverage the digital technologies to the fullest. And that's what has given a certain sense of realization to these folks that yes, digital is not a fad. It is not a nice to have. It is must have. And these are the unexpected or not foreseen circumstances where digital can come very, very handy. Also, while it has given its own challenges, it also has given a lot of opportunities, which we tend to ignore, probably or turn our eye to that, the blind eye to that is because of COVID, the entire sourcing strategies of the organizations have changed. There is a massive localization, not just because of self-reliant India or Atmanirbhar Bharat. For example, if there is a company which is sourcing from China, and during COVID times, it is not able to source from China because some or the other country is in lockdown, and these
supply chain issues
were rampant, and they were not able to meet the deliveries, although their factory is operating, just because they were waiting for the parts to arrive. Right? So that has made them think to reconfigure their supply chains. And what does it mean? It means a lot of opportunity for the Indian manufacturing sector. So Atmanirbhar Bharat, combined with the supply chain disruptions introduced by COVID, together has presented a phenomenal opportunity to the Indian manufacturing sector.
You mentioned about operational efficiencies. What are some of them so that our viewers can get a heads up view as to what you're talking about?
I'm sure the typical operational efficiencies any industry looks for is how are they leveraging their plant to its full capacity. Okay, the simple rule in a manufacturing shop floor is if I'm able to put my capacity to its full utilization, that means I'm assuming there is a demand. Okay, I'm talking about a made to stock scenario. So one of the critical operational efficiencies is to bring the OEE, okay, overall equipment effectiveness, which is very important for the organizations to thrive, especially the shop floors to deliver 70 to 80% utilization of capacity. That's one of the operational efficiencies. And second thing, this is very interesting topic. In any factory, there are 3 F's that are very important: the information flow, material flow, and cash flow. Okay, the information flow plays a significant role, which was not kind of acknowledged in the previous days, but today it becomes a critical element in the real-time decision making. Okay, to be able to know and make swift decisions on the shop floor. If a machine is broken down, what is that I can do? Okay, how long does it take to revive it? Meanwhile, how I can ensure that my throughput is not reduced? All these strategies, first of all, you can devise a strategy only if the information has reached to the right place. So not losing the information in the silos or in the cracks, but having a real-time seamless information flow from the shop floor to top floor is a critical aspect. And that's where some of the technologies, digital technologies, that capture every step of the manufacturing process, every step. Okay, from the time using all these barcodes and all these scanner technologies and all of that. There are a lot of technologies that use SCADAs, MES and all of that. With that, you can literally track every second of what happens on the shop floor. And that way, you are getting real-time information at the decision makers level, and they are able to react to any scenarios and make the decisions faster, thereby reducing the downtime involved in repairing or taking the decision itself. Okay, that's one. And second important thing is the operational efficiency that we can bring with these Industry 4.0 technologies is the predictive maintenance. To be able to predictively maintain or predictively assess when a machine could go for a repair or a maintenance, and not wait for it to break down, but to anticipate it and correct it even before it breaks down, and have that, ensure that your plant is operating at its full capacity and without seeing any sudden surprises or shocks or breakdowns, right? That's another operational efficiency. So, and then the most important thing is how do you handle your inventories and stock out situations, right? That's because anything that's lying as an inventory is cash stuck. Okay, because you're not making revenue out of it. So how do you maintain your strategies in a manner that your inventory is not too huge? At the same time, you're not too low on the inventory that you're getting into a stock out scenarios. So that's called OTIF, the order on time in full. Okay, to be able to deliver an order on time in full quantum is called as OTIF. That's one of the measures which is very critical, because that's what directly proportional to the customer satisfaction. A customer who doesn't get his demand fulfilled is an unsatisfied customer. At the same time, if you make too many and keep it with yourself and there are no customers to take it, that's an inventory scenario. That means that's the wasted, unless you have takers for it, it's more or less a wasted component. So, and then the fill rate. Of late, if you see the last mile, deliveries and all of that, the fill rate is becoming very, very critical. How soon can I have this delivered to my customer, and with what quality? So the fill rates, out of 100 orders, how many orders am I fulfilling on time? Is it 90, is it 95, or is it 75? So the fill rate is another operational efficient operation or KPI one should look at. All these KPIs, or OTIF or fill rates and your machine parameters, there are a lot of machine parameters that they are tracking. And then the overall capacity utilization parameters and the overall plant effectiveness in terms of its health, the machine's health and predictive maintenance. All these things bring a lot of value on the 3 F's I said: the information flow, material flow, and cash flow. And without these 3 F's well maintained, I think the shop floor is is in trouble. It could either be losing, having a stock out situation, or it could be losing time in making swift decisions, or it could be probably losing a lot of cash in inventories. Yeah.
Great. So, if I have to start my Industry 4 journey, where do I begin?
Okay. This is an interesting question. I think there is no one right answer, right? It's not like one size fits all approach. There is no one fixed answer for this. It varies from customer to customer and their situation, their context. Typically, the better way, considering that it's a medium-sized company and they have multiple plants, always the mostly advised, suggested approach is to go brick by brick. A lot of people think that Industry 4.0, I'll go big bang, all plants, what will happen, the investment is too much and the expectation is too much. Because of that expectation, sometimes the expectations will themselves kill the productivity of these tools. Okay, so we tend to expect too much in too little time, and then that creates anxiety, and then suddenly everything starts looking weird. So to avoid that, take one step at a time. For example, if you have a big factory with multiple plants, and each plant will have multiple lines and shops, typically that's the factory layout. Start with a simple shop. Pick a shop which is little highly automated if you can, and then see how you can adopt the Industry 4.0 for that particular shop. And then go to the line level. Ensure that the entire line is automated and entire line is brought under the Industry 4.0 ambit. Then once you see that, taste that success, by doing these experiments or the POCs, as I call it, on a smaller scale, you will learn a lot of things. There is a lot of learning, regardless of whether you're an expert or not, or even the implementer or the technology is an expert or not. There is a lot of learning in every plant, in every customer scenario. So if you make those experiments on a small scale, that will give you those learnings, which you can take it to your large scale deployments. So start with a shop, line, then move on to a plant, and then probably a site at the factory level. So this is how the Industry 4.0 adoption should be looked at, but may not be. If it is highly automated plant already, then you can go big bang. It's all about everything is connected already. It's all about orchestrating that connectedness. Then you can go all plant big bang. You cannot break it down into silos there. So as I said, there is no one size fits all approach. Another suggestion I would probably give is that to look at if an organization has brownfield plants versus a greenfield plant which is coming up. Okay, maybe they can look at deploying this Industry 4.0 techniques in the greenfield plant, because you are getting that at the beginning itself. You are pushing this agenda in the beginning itself. Why so? Because once you have this Industry 4.0, it is easy even for the workforce to accept that, as compared to brownfield. Brownfield, contrary to a lot of people's perception, it's not the technology that's difficult. It's the people who have been adopted to a certain way of doing things. And for them to change to a new way of doing things, right? That's the biggest hindrance in terms of adopting. So instead, look at your greenfields first, so that it is faster and there is no people adoption issues because people are not yet there. Put the Industry 4.0 and then have the people accept the whole factory with the Industry 4.0 as it is, and they will get adjusted to that new environment. And then look at your brownfields. And when you're looking at brownfields, look at address the people issue very, very clearly. That's going to be a make or break as far as Industry 4.0 adoption is concerned.
Right. Once established, and this is my last question to you, is how do I ensure I get the best out of it? Is there any tips? Is there any tricks that one should?
Oh, a lot. Actually, this is one of the important aspects. I break it down into three sub-components: people, process, and technology. Okay. The biggest elements in Industry 4.0 success is ensuring right governance from the leadership team. First of all, there has to be leadership commitment. Okay. And probably I may say something that may antagonize a lot of people, but don't look at Industry 4.0 as an ROI churning machine. Yes, it will give you ROI. Yes, it will give you operational efficiencies, but not from the word go. Have the patience, see it as a hygiene factor. Okay. We keep our houses clean, not because there is any ROI, right? We keep it that way because that's the way it should be. So Industry 4.0 brings a lot of hygiene factors as well. It ensures this EHS factors. It ensures a lot of other basic hygiene factors. We tend to look at it as a big bang technology adoption, so I have to see the ROI. So ROI will come, but have the patience and take it step by step, but ensure, don't have this ROI mindset from the word go, and have an absolute leadership commitment. That's from the process standpoint, having the right governance and all of that. And from the technology standpoint, I'd like to tell you that there are so many, sometimes it becomes overwhelming for the person who is on the shop floor. There are so many names that have been thrown at him. There is edge computing, cloud computing, SCADAs, MES, IoT, IIoT, whatnot, right? So if you just write the jargon that are involved in Industry 4.0, you can fill at least 2-3 pages, which are entirely different from each other. So it can at times become very overwhelming for the people on the shop floor. So you should look at technologies that simplify this jargon, that have an holistic, seamless approach to all of these things. End of the day, a technology is only a means to achieve something. And nobody is in the field of doing a research and developing these technologies. They want to. Technology is an enabler, not a research in itself. But it so happens that there has to be a research team to do that technology orchestration. So look at digital platforms that can simplify this problem, that can bring all these elements in a connected fashion, that can eliminate the complexity is of having multiple tools and multiple technologies. So an integrated platform, an integrated solution will help simplify the complexities involved. So whenever you are looking at getting the best out of Industry 4.0, look at, to whatever extent possible. Of course, you will not get everything on one on platter from one particular source always. There will be some, there has to be some integration that you have to do, but minimize those integrations. Minimize the number of tool sets that you have, so that you have, whatever extent possible, at least 70-80% of oneness within your organization as far as Industry 4.0 is concerned. And then the critical aspect, as I said, is people. Okay, when I say people, have cross-functional teams. It's not a shop floor's problem. It's not a management problem. Don't leave it to. You have, one organization has to be very serious about creating a cross-functional team. Start with the IT OT teams, the information technology and the operational technology. Typically industry, that's why it's called IIoT, right? And there is a IT and there is an OT. They come together. That's why it's industrial IoT. Although IoT is Internet of Things, but here it is used in that pretext as well. So have a cross-functional team, at least to begin with both IT and OT. OT is the team that handles the machines, the automation layer. IT is the team that handles the digital and information layer. When these two teams come together, have a cross-functional team, and come together as a strong team, and then I'm sure they will look at a bigger picture of what are the benefits of Industry 4.0, instead of looking, this is my work and this is what I have done, so I don't know what others are doing. I have done my job, but somewhere else it's failing, so it's not my responsibility. These kind of excuses can be avoided. That's the first thing. And secondly, skill sets. As I said, most of the Industry 4.0 adoptions success depends on the ability of the factory to adopt. When I say ability of the factory, I'm talking about the worker. I'm not talking about the fantastic IT OT teams. The regular worker who is interfacing with the technology, if he's not able to see value in it, if he says that there is only an extra work, why am I getting this? I'm able to easily bolt or unbolt the nuts or whatever. In a line, he's doing simple job, and suddenly you have to type in, feed in, and all of that, and he's not so computer savvy. So we have to, first of all, uncomplicate the technology for them, keep it as it used to be, but also skill them. Tell them that this is your way of taking to the next level. You have been only doing the bolt and nuts. Now we are getting a better digital access and all of that, and make them understand the value of adopting these technologies. And for that, they have to be skilled, because skilling is a critical aspect. When I say skilling, it's about the blue collar shop floor workers I'm talking about. So with these aspects addressed, uncomplicate the technology from the people standpoint, have cross-functional teams, and skill the shop floor workers to face and accept and embrace these technologies. I think with that, that's a right way to get the best out of Industry 4.0.
Wonderful. It was lovely talking to you, Ravikiran. Thank you so much.
Pleasure is all mine, Pran. Thank you very much.